How are you feeling? How are you physically feeling? How are you mentally feeling? How are you emotionally feeling? I would love for you to pause the podcast right now and shoot me an email, shoot me a message, text me, and let me know. Let me know. Nobody should ever feel like they don't have somewhere to turn. And our show is all about building human connection within so that we can have authentic connections filling our life. You can find my contact information on our new website at yourinfinitynation.com. That's www.yourinfinitynation.com. Pause. We're only 1 minute in. Give it a pause. Go find that website and shoot me a message. Today, first, thank you. Thank you guys for showing up. Thank you for giving your time and your space. I appreciate it. You are truly a valuable asset, and I appreciate that. Building a nation of infinity warriors, people who want better connections within themselves, who want to be able to speak their truth and walk within their truth, who want to not live in abusive lives, who want to not have bosses that are narcissists, who want to have, respectful places, people who are around you, who respect your boundaries, who see you, who celebrate you, who care about your feelings, right? If somebody's trampling all over your feelings, well, you know this deep inside you, whether or not you're standing up for yourself and putting up some boundaries and removing yourself from that space. But that person is not meant to be in your path right now. Maybe never. Maybe they need to just be right on out of your path, but maybe they just need a break from your path. I don't know. Their choices aren't yours. No matter who they are. I'm going to underscore that. So I'm talking immediate family members, parents, children, siblings, spouses, domestic partners, best friends. No matter who it is who is disrespecting your authentic self, you have to, it's hard sometimes for some of us, not for all of us, but for some of us, it is really hard to get that burst of courage so that we can set a boundary. And then, here's the trick. You've got to hold that boundary. You have to choose you. You have to show up and love you more than you need that other person to love you, see you, want you, desire you. More than you love them, you have to love you. Now, I say this not from arrogance or ignorance, but from experience. You see, if you've listened to my previous podcasts over the last maybe 2 years, you will know that I am a mom of 5, 1 angel in heaven and 4 amazing kiddos. And I am breaking a cycle of generational abuse. I am walking out of a lifetime, a fabric that held me tight and did not allow me to have a voice. My self-worth as a codependent person, my self-worth was defined through the eyes and actions of the people around me. Let me say that again. My self-worth was defined by the people around me. Now that is a really scary thing. A really, really scary thing. It's taken 3 years of very, very intentional work to shift and change that. And I want to talk about that. And I want to share that with you as hope for your journey. Your journey can and will change if you do the work. If you do the work, if you get a guide, and that can be a therapist who specializes in your breaks, in your needs. It can be a coach, but it has to be a specialist who is removed from your emotional self, somebody who's impartial. Once you build that trust with that person, you've got to just push through. You've got to push through these healing spaces, these healing phases that will lift you to a platform of wholeness that you have never realized before. And from that spot of whole self, where you become self-aware, self-fulfilling of your needs, and you break that codependency, like Nita had to. It's really hard. I'm not going to lie. And I honestly, like, if you're in that space, I need you to just go over to that website, yourinfinitynation.com, hit that contact button, shoot a message to me, call me, text me, email me, and we will work through that together. And if it's not me that you end up working with, I have lots of resources of people for you to work with, because breaking codependency, breaking free of abuse, hauling your children out of toxic, self-harming habits and into a self-loving life is not something I recommend you try to do on your own. You are worth spending the money on you. Kind of hard to hear, isn't it? Sometimes it can be hard when we are so used to giving everything of ourselves to other people to prioritize resources for ourselves. I'm going to have you take a break, and I will be back on the other side of this, and we'll pick up our conversation. I want to talk about change. There's a fabulous, fabulous thing that I believe so intently. I lived it. I use it all the time, and it will get you through that rough patch of when you know you have to instigate change, but you're filled with fear. You're filled with fear. So stick around. We're going to take a quick break, pick you up on the other side, and we're going to talk about a powerful, you can do this, getting through the fear when you need to instigate change in your life. Welcome back. So what is it? What is this magic secret sauce that if you have to instigate change in your life and you are so filled with fear, what could possibly help motivate you? What could help you get through the terror of telling an abusive spouse that you are separating, that you want a divorce, or an abusive boss? What about if you have to leave a friendship? What if you're dating somebody who's controlling? What if you have a best friend who's really not very kind? Because I'm going to be honest, if you're codependent at all, if you have any codependent tendencies, you are likely, just like Nita was, just like I was, pulling your life full of people who were the opposite side of you. If you were a giver, they were a taker. And that's not to say that every single person in your life has full on, toxic tendencies. But their abilities counter yours. The secret is this. It's something that I have used over and over and over. And I so intently believe that if you can make yourself have 10 seconds of courage, you can do anything. You can have any conversation. You can move through any fire that you are in. 10 seconds of courage can change the course of your life. Let's time 10 seconds. Starting now. There we go. Right now. 10 seconds. I know some of you will go like, oh, dead air. Nice. In 10 seconds, you can blurt this out in any way you need to. You can write it on a note and hand it to a person, but you can say, this is no longer working for me. I am leaving. Period. That right there was less than 6 seconds. 10 seconds of courage can change the course of your life. I am worth spending money on for therapy. 4 seconds. 10 seconds of courage can change and will change your life. And I say the will with an and following it. And you have to be convicted and hold your course. If you've set a boundary, you will not treat me like that anymore, I am leaving, then you hold that. You do what you say you're going to do. That 10 seconds of courage is the opening of the door to affect the change that you need to have happen, that will lead you within honoring and living your authentic self, and lead you onto a path that is healthier and has resources and abilities that over time, given time, will lead you to the life of your dreams. You know those dreams, those things you never talk about, those things hidden deep, deep, deep inside you. Or maybe you share them, but somebody laughed. Somebody said, yeah, right. Those dreams that you have, they actually can come true if you're willing to do the work. So you get to decide where your 10 seconds of courage is. Maybe it's right now. You hit pause and you say, I am going to start that business today. Does that mean you're going to file all the paperwork and buy your business license and open up the doors today? Probably not. Maybe if you're a multi-bazillionaire, but it does mean that you can today take the very first step to actioning a change in your life. Here's something for you while we're talking about 10 seconds of courage and change. And I'm going to be real honest. I hated change because I was codependent. The codependency in Nita was created in childhood. It was woven from, a fabric of a childhood where I needed to obey. I needed to obey to be safe, and I needed to be the good child, quote unquote. I'm using air quotes here. And so codependency for me was so deeply ingrained in who I was. I didn't even know it. Clearly, I didn't know it. But that led me on my life course. And just recently, here it is January, I'm sitting in front of a gorgeous lake and watching, the scenery go by and recording a podcast and realizing that it was only August, just a few months ago, that I realized that I became self-aware of being codependent. And then I dove into that hurt, into that pain, into the shame, into the overwhelmingness of that realization of my flaws. Instead of being the victim, I took ownership of the things that I had done that to other people would have been toxic. And I worked through that. So a lifetime, decades and decades of being who I was has only shifted because I had 10 seconds of courage to say, yeah, that definition, damn, that's me. 10 seconds of courage will open your eyes, shift your direction, if you allow it to, if you want it to. I hated change when I was a codependent, terrified of change because I needed to control the outcome. I needed the narrative that I was promised, right? Problem was, because I was codependent, I was also attracting very unhealthy people who could, be served by me, for lack of a better way to explain it. I'm going to send you to a resource here in a minute so that you can get lots of information on narcissism and codependency. But until I learned self-love, until I learned to respect myself and this wholeness that I spoke of earlier, there was absolutely no way that I could break that cycle and begin again and become healthy and become courageous. I sat within the knowledge that I had to do something about the abusive home that my marriage was. But I didn't know what to do with it. I didn't know what to do with that knowledge that I knew I had to change it. I didn't have within me 10 seconds of courage. So I sat within that absolute space, that nothingness of knowing for 2-3 years. And then there was years that I spent researching because then I did start. I did have that 10 seconds of courage where I started to research, right? Celebrate all those steps. So back to opening that business, living those dreams. It isn't about getting to the end game immediately. It's about putting into motion all the tiny steps. Because a mountain is climbed one step at a time. And the mountain that I'm looking at right now at this gorgeous lake, and if you visit me over on Instagram at, I'm going to change my Instagram name later, but search up Nita Kruger, and you're going to see Infinity Nation. But the Instagram handle right now, it's going to change. I'm telling you, it's going to change, is the 4 C's, SEAS, of Infinity. I like it because the 4 C's of Infinity are connection, coaching, creation, and consulting. So there's the 4 C's, and of course C is like, like infinity. There's no, it's bottomless almost, right? So head over there and you will see a picture, a reel of the mountain I'm looking at right now. And I've been to the top of that mountain. And just like any time, we've all been on at least a hike. If you haven't climbed a mountain, you've gone on a walk, right? And you've had the gravel or the ground slip under you and you've kind of taken a side slide. Or if you're climbing this mountain I'm looking at, you slide backward, right? Have you ever been on a hill or climbing, scrambling up a hill, and you literally slide backward a little bit? Well, it's the same when you start to instigate change. You're going to slide sideways. You're going to step forward. Sometimes you're going to run forward, sprint forward, climb forward, crawl forward. But you're also going to slide backwards sometimes. And those are not moments of self-defeat. Those are just moments to recognize this is part of my journey to a healthier me. We're going to take a quick break. Stick around, because I want to share with you a brief exchange between my son and I want to share with you a resource for narcissism and codependency that's a friend of mine has created, and it is outstanding. And I believe that I have a clip of him I'm going to add into this next, before the ending of our podcast, because what is happening over there is something to share. It is something to talk about. So, stick around. I'll be right back. Welcome back. My son was heading back to college, my oldest son, and he and I were texting, and he was being so honest and vulnerable with some feelings that he was having about going back. And there was one particular thing, it's a little personal, I'm not going to go into it, but it was making him very uncomfortable. And I said, but honey, love, in life, we often have to do the uncomfortable in order to get to a better life. And he came back and he said, okay, Mom, I understand. Look at that statement. We have to do the uncomfortable to get to a better life. If we live within comfort, if we do not embrace change, if we live within our fear, we are going to stay in the life we have. Now, that may be a perfect life for many people. And I know that for many of us, it is or was not. It is okay. It is okay for you to have a better life. It is okay for you to want a better life. It is okay for you to create a better life. It is okay for you to honor all of those needs, wants, desires within you. You get to live the life that you dream of. And you get to do those steps every single day to make your dreams reality. You have it right. And that is what Infinity Nation is founded upon. That is what this podcast, Infinity Warrior, is going to be exploring and expanding and exploding within all of us. A connection to our authentic self. And 10 minutes of courage is all it took me to begin changing the direction and course of my life and my children's lives. Now, let me tell you about my friend, Nick. Sometimes things that are completely unexpected bring about great opportunity, great possibility. And when I received late summer, probably, I was going through a really difficult moment of breaking codependency and truly losing one of my most valuable and trusted spaces. But this person reached out and said hi and wanted to have a conversation about the work that I was doing on my Instagram page and in my coaching world. And that first conversation has led to a collaborative effort between the two of us. This very, very educated, very, very talented psychotherapist, Nick Carey, has created a company, an entity called NARC and Co. You can find him on Instagram, find him on Facebook under NARC, NARC, and ANDCO. And I urge you to go find him there and follow him. It is a mentoring service where the mentors are people who have healed from narcissistic abuse, like myself. However, I'm not a mentor. But people who have healed from narcissistic abuse and are taking their learned pathway out, and they're training to become a mentor, and they are opening up the door to help other people find a way out of the darkness of narcissistic abuse and codependency and into living within your authentic self. His website just went live this week. And I tell you what, I honestly blown away. Blown away. I have been, consulting with this company and his mentors for months now. And when information and layout of the website went live, I was so excited and so passionate about what I was seeing. I actually teared up. I could tear up now because I wish I had had that resource a decade ago, 2 decades ago, 3 decades ago. I wish that I had seen that information, that very first 10 seconds of courage that I had, 6, 8 years ago when I started just looking at what was normal. Is it normal to feel this way? Is it normal to be treated this way? Is it normal to, right? If you're beginning to ask, is this normal? I'm telling you right now, it's probably not, because you're already not listening to your authentic intuition, and you're researching instead of going, I'm worthy of trusting myself. I was there. I'm not judging or pointing the finger at you. I am saying I was there, and there is a path out. Visit him on the web at www.narc, narcnco.com. That's narcnco.com. Go to that website and check it out. Then let me know. Let Nick know. Shoot him a message. Shoot him an email. And let him know what you think of his site. Work with his mentors. It is a fabulous resource to help you on your journey to gaining 10 seconds of courage that will change the rest of your life. It didn't even dawn on me that it would only took 10 seconds of courage until just the last, I was writing a blog that published this week. Go check it out on Infinity Nation, yourinfinitynation.com. And it is about 12 steps to cope with unexpected change. And it is a really strong, profound resource that are all tips and tools that really honestly allowed me to survive some pretty dark spaces. And I realized when I was writing that all of my major life changes and minor life changes took just a boom, 10 seconds of courage. I will no longer be treated like that. I am leaving this space. This is unhealthy. It does not matter if you can't see that it's unhealthy. It is unhealthy. I am making this change. I am filing for divorce. I am stopping abuse. We are going to therapy. We will not treat each other that way in this house. 10 seconds of courage can change the course of your life. And when you make that choice, it ripples to all the people around you. check out Nick. I'm gonna. I'm positive I can get the recording onto here. So enjoy this message from Nick, and thank you. Thank you for joining my first episode of Infinity Warrior. And I'm looking forward to many, many more. Maybe you can be a guest on here. I would love that. If you have an interest to be a guest on Infinity Warrior, just head on over to yourInfinityNation.com and shoot me a message. Okay? Or if you can't remember the name of my website and you're on Nick's, just shoot Nick a message and say, I want to be on Nita's podcast, and he will connect us. Your story is worthy of telling. If you want to put 1 minute out there, and not even your name, that 1 minute can inspire another person going through the exact same thing. Trust me, I've been inspired by every person who stood in front of me, by every person who's crossed my journey. They have touched me, even the ones who I've had to shut out of my journey. They have impacted me in positive ways as well as negative. So, Nick Carey of Narc & Co. Only on the web, remove the full and just use the letter N. narcnco.com. Take a listen to what he has to say about connecting and how it's healthy. I look forward to seeing you guys next time. Thanks so much.
Yeah, I think there's a real difference between there's a shift in people when they have the knowledge and understanding of narcissism, codependency, in relation to how they perceive the person that they're in relationship with, whether it's a boss or a romantic relationship or a friend. I think all the time there's an absence of that knowledge. One experiences that relationship in a particular way. And generally, the codependent will attribute the difficulties to the relationship to themselves, because that's within their sort of personality, their nature. And it's only until, the information is come across, either in therapy or mentoring or reading, that there's it can be an absolute light bulb moment once people access that information and understand the nature of narcissistic behavior, on the more problematic end of the continuum. I've had clients that have literally taken 2 sessions to have sort of quite powerful sort of eureka moments after suffering narcissistic abuse for kind of significant periods of time. They go away, they do the reading, and their whole perception of the relationship changes. I think it can happen to anybody, regardless of codependency. But I think in my experience, somebody that's not codependent will become aware of the dynamics quicker, aware of the sort of abusive nature of the behavior and communication. But like you say, with the someone with a more kind of codependent personality structure who's often dependent on their self-esteem through validation from external sources, they'll stay in that relationship for years, thinking that the difficulty is within them, and that they're to blame, and that they need to improve, and that they need to make everything better.